3, 2, welcome to the Contractor Sales Academy podcast. My name is Tomasio Ribersky. That is a Spanish-Polish name, or actually it's more Italian, I guess. Tomasio, right? Would that be like Italian? But anyway, Derek, Steve, how you guys doing today?
We're doing good. I'll speak for Derek. I know Derek's doing great.
So I'm excited to talk about this podcast topic here today because I think it will answer a lot of questions for people on how powerful the Shin Fu is. And so there's some data out there in the sales world, the sales rep, sales training world. And let me preface this by saying, I'm going to share some data that's out there that we came across online. And I personally think, and I don't think I'm off by what I'm going to say here, whatever data I'm about to share, I think is multiplied in the contracting world, okay, for the average home improvement contractor. So, and so we're going to talk about 3 problems that the Shin Fu solves. If you follow the Shin Fu, if you practice, if you're committed to this process and some things like that. And the first that we'll tackle here is probably the biggest one, and that's that only 13% of prospects actually feel that the person they're working with as a salesperson, only 13% of prospects out there believe that their salesperson understands their true needs. And this is big because if we don't have a relationship with a prospect where we truly understand where they're coming from, what their motives are, that's step 1 in the Fu, right, is the motive, then we're never really going to get to the root of things to be able to help them, or at least get to a decision to where we can help them or not. So guys, let's talk a little bit about that. How does the Shin Fu help the salesperson, the contractor salesperson, understand somebody's needs? What say you?
Well, let me ask you first. I should airplane mode my phone. Okay, sorry about that. So let me understand. What you're saying is 13% of all people that call up contractors actually feel understood and heard.
Correct. So out of 100 people that a salesperson deals with, only 13 of those people feel like that salesperson really truly understood what was important to them and what they need.
So I wonder if, flip it around before I give you my answer, is how many of the contractors feel like they actually heard and understood the customer?
Oh, I can answer that one, man. I've done thousands and thousands of appointments throughout my life. And Steve, I tell you what, every single time I walk out of there going, they loved me. This is going to be a great opportunity. I can't wait to do this job, blah, blah, blah. So I would say close to 100% of contractors think after they meet with somebody or talk with somebody that, man, I know what these people want. I know what they need.
So Steve Dorfman shared a fact with us, and we just got it revealed again in Cleveland, that something like literally 89% of all corporations feel they understand their customers, but when they polled the customers, only 8%, not even 13, 8% of them felt understood. So, well, I have an academic answer and I have a Steve answer. Which answer would you like?
Let's burn through the academic one and then give us the Steve answer.
Okay, well, the academic one, those are the facts right there that basically, as a human being, we feel like we're better than we actually really are because we put ourselves in the best light, and we feel like we are good listeners and good understanders and that we're really getting to the bottom of things. And in reality, we're really not at all. All we're really doing is we're spewing facts and figures and greatness at these people to try to sell them something. And so when we sell in the traditional sense, the last thing we're really doing is understanding what they're saying, because we feel compelled to vomit.
Absolutely. That makes total sense. What's the Steve answer?
We have our heads so far up our asses, we can't see anything but and we believe ourselves. We tell ourselves, we believe ourselves, and we go with other contractors and we high five ourselves. And we are just so full of ourselves, we can't even see what's really going on around us. We can't see it. And I tell you, I'm looking at a guy, and here, this story says it all. He told us a story about a year or so ago. What the hell story is Steve going to tell? He was building a pond in the man's backyard, and the man was meeting on the patio right next to where Charlie was building. He was meeting like a landscaper or electrician or somebody's going to build a fire pit, some other contractor. And Charlie's sitting there minding his business, building the pond, and he's witnessing this other contractor throw up all over the homeowner. Looks at that situation and he goes, "Oh my God, there I am 5 years ago. That was me puking all over." And he wants to go over there and slap the contractor and go, "Dude, shut the fuck up. Man, let me give you a couple of word tracks and shut up and you'll walk out of here with that job." But he couldn't. And the best part about it, this is really psychoanalysis in a sense that and go, "You know what? That used to be me."
Well, listen, in the last 2 to 3 weeks, I've had interactions with, just for my own business, I've approximately 3 weeks, I've had interactions with 1, 2, 3 different salespeople for things that I need in my life or in my business, and 100% of them didn't do to understand what was really important to me. And I'm more of a critical eye, right? Because this is what we do. We train people how to do this stuff. But 100% of the people that I've dealt with recently that sell stuff had no idea what my real needs were and what my motives were for even picking up the phone. And Derek, I'm sure you got some things to say here, but like, let's, step one of our Shin Fu process is, we call it the motive. So can you give kind of an overview what that really means for anyone that might not know, who's never heard this before?
The motive. Well, like right now, I'm literally just listening to you two talk, and I'm taking in everything that you're saying. I'm finding myself not getting into statements in my head and thinking stories and thinking how I can one up and just basically say something better than you guys are saying. And that's just the progression of where we're at now. So the motive is just that. The motive is literally asking your customer questions and just hanging out with them. I just listened to someone else actually in our bridge group shared a video. It was how to have a conversation. And he said it's very reminiscent of Shin Fu. So I had to listen to it. It was really very similar, but there was a couple of things that it's kind of minutia we got to watch for. So that throwing up all over people, we need to watch out for. When you're listening to someone, it's good to mirror so that they feel heard, but you got to be careful if you get outside of the mirroring process of, if, say, Steve, for instance, is just saying, we're telling the story about Charlie. Charlie's literally listening to that guy going, "Man, if I could just throw his hand signals out there and get him to shut up, he could totally walk out of here with that sale." If I say anything differently than that to a person while they're sharing their story with me, it's going to take them into a completely different direction. It's going to derail the whole conversation. So the motive really is to just listen and take notes and be very careful how you respond to the client or the future prospect, because you could say something, your thought, your statement, and it changes the whole trajectory. You could even lose the job that way. So it's interesting how the active listening is changing for me to realize I've just got to hang out with them. And when the time is right, express with them how I can fix their needs.
So what's it sound like? So when you guys are on the phone with somebody, or you're standing in front of them and you're digging to really understand what's important to them. So like Oh, hey, I want this landscape project done, or I want my addition put on the house, or whatever it might be. What are some things that might come out of your mouth to help you, or what are some things that you pick up on that they might share or say, and how do you, I guess, what's the word? How do you run that through the motive test, right? Is this really their motive? What's that sound like?
Well, for me, first off, if I'm talking, I'm losing. If they're talking, I'm winning, no matter what's being said, just about. Number two, just as a rule of thumb, you should let them talk 70% of the time, and you should talk 30% of the time max. So what does it sound like? It sounds like the customer's talking. What we try to do is simply ask questions. And then depending on how they answer, we ask more questions and more questions. Only every so often do we actually offer a solution, but that's only after understanding. And before we offer the solution, we'll say something like, let me understand this. And we'll repeat back what we think they said so they can agree with us. And that way they feel totally understood and they're more accepting of our answer that we're about to give them. When you go visit a doctor, a good doctor will shut up and listen to you because he needs symptoms. But a lot of doctors will just cut you off. And the truth is, when you go to a doctor, you need to literally have handwritten all your things you want to say to the doctor, because when you get in there, you get a little bit nervous and stuff, and there's a God complex going on, and you can't really get all the symptoms out that you want to get out. Well, the customers are the same way. They may not be nervous on the phone across from you, but a lot of times they're human beings. They don't get to say everything they want to say. So it's up to you to literally pry out this information from them. So in a nutshell, for me, I just want them talking. I want them explaining, and then I'm going to explain it back to them like I heard it. And if I didn't get it right, I'm going to try it again.
Tap into what Steve's saying. I think the two things that I say to get that information out of the customer, so that they're talking 70% of the time and I'm listening 30% of the time, is tell me what's going on. How can I help you? That's usually what I start out with. That's just kind of my typical MO. And then somewhere through that process, I ask them to paint a picture for me. They give me some information. It's like, paint a picture for me. Let me see what that looks like. So with those two questions, there's a lot of, between the two fence posts, there's a lot of information that I need to gather. And then when the time's right, just like Steve's saying, and that's kind of one of Steve's word tracks, is let me understand this. I want to understand this. I want to get this right. I feel like you say that all the time, Steve. You say it with me, and I hear you say it to other people. So that's just but it makes sense. If you can understand it and hear them right and it's mirror it back to them, then they can go, that's exactly what I was talking about. Or no, Steve, you actually missed this. So it's beautiful. You get affirmation, and you also get, well, no, that wasn't it. So let's make sure that you do understand what I'm talking about. And then once Steve is there, and for me, once they painted that picture, I can see, now we can talk about money because we know what they need. And at some point, we do get to become the expert, which is what we're all good at, and that's easy. But we got to practice and go through these hard things of really listening. So if you don't believe me, ask your wife if she really wants you to fix something when she's talking to you.
So there's one more thing, Tom, that was really weird for first at me, but I do it all the time now. I do it conversationally when I just talk to regular people, not even prospects. I ask permission. When someone asks me a question or they make a statement, I ask them, for instance, if I want to say something really serious to someone, I ask them, is it okay if I'm really straight up with you? Or something, it might even sound like, would you like me to give you a fluffy answer, or would you like me to give it right between your eyes? How would you like it? I ask permission to ask questions even, which gives the sense of total control over what the hell's going on. I mean, the truth of the matter is when we walk into a retail shop and they go, hey, can I help you today? And you go, no, just looking. The reason why we say no, just looking, which is a lie, is because we're afraid if we say yes, they're going to pounce into sales mode and it's going to be really uncomfortable for us. And we don't want to be in that position. But if they would ask us, it is a question that they're asking us. It's funny now that I'm talking out loud. Can I help you? But that is just a setup for I'm about to pounce on you and pulverize your head until you buy something out of my store. So people buy from those who they trust. And if you can make them feel easy, comfortable, like they can trust you, and one way to do that is say, are you okay with me being straight up with you? That makes them feel easier with you. So
Yep.
you're just trying to build that trust.